Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nemeka Onyeka Oderi. I want to humbly submit that the only way we can make progress in the southeast of Nigeria is when we begin to elect and appoint excellent men of integrity, of capacity, of competencies, of excellence, of sincerity, of patriotism into the place of power and authority across the different arms and tiers of government in Nigeria. I want to debunk this fallacy. One of the things that drove some of the misguided youths into the forest to begin to live like animals, become terrorists, kidnappers, and all manner of nonsense was the issue because of the absence of leadership in the service of Nigeria. Remember, prior to when Buhari became the president of Nigeria, the first thing Buhari did was to, firstly, of course, Kaubaraje, the former PDP APC chieftain, told us gleefully how they imported bandits and militias from other parts of Africa into Nigeria, thinking that there will be war or there will be problem after the 2015 election. They didn't know Jonathan can easily capitulate. And of course, those people that they imported could not go back. They became a menace to every part of Nigeria. There was insecurity in the southeast, insecurity in the southwest, everywhere. And people were screaming, people were clamoring for security to be improved. The leaders of the southwest, the governors, quickly set up a matokun to enable them provide an indigenous solution to the insecurity that was practically led by the Fula militias who had their patron as the former head of president of Nigeria. The governors of the southeast refused to do anything. They were busy pussyfooting. It was in the absence of leadership that the so-called IPOB leadership decided to set up ESN in the southeast, which today has metamorphosed into all manner of banditry, criminality, and it has been hijacked by hoodlums and criminals. In fact, the kidnappers, the terrorists, the carjackers, every man of ritualists have all gathered together under the same umbrella. Everybody is an agitator, and they are hiding under their agitation to perpetrate their criminality because of the absence of leadership in the states. The governors refuse to do anything. They sustain this narration that some people in the north or in the west are subjugating those of the southeast. The truth is, nobody can be subjugated without him accepting to be subjugated. There's an Igbo that says, you can only be held to the ground when you allow yourself to stay on the ground. Igbo had not been cowards. We have never been cowards. We have never been weaklings. We have never lacked creativity. But since 1999, we have been so unfortunate to have the worst of all, the dregs of the earth, assume and ascend the place of power and authority. Therefore, we are being led by those who, under normal circumstances, shouldn't have come anywhere near the ladders of power and authority. There was a time we had men like Dr. Okpara as a premier, 39-year-old. Between 1959 to 1966, he built 214-kilometer agro-industrial belt. The economy of the old region was the fastest growing in the whole of the Commonwealth. It had the most efficient security police force in the whole of Africa. Today, we are back into the backwaters. We are relegated. Insecurity has taken root in the southeast. Things are not moving the way it is supposed to move because we have adopted this blame game rather than look inward and hold ourselves accountable for our woes. I'll give you a practical example. I remember then when Godwin Emefiele was the governor of the central bank. Governor Emefiele was busy dishing out trillions of naira in terms of funding intervention into agriculture. Kebbi State, I remember, assessed almost about 72 billion naira for rice development. Other states were doing it. The governors of the southeast refused to do anything. Some of us went into agitation mode. We wrote articles, and the Emefiele graciously decided to provide 32 small, paltry 32 billion naira allocation for the southeast and the south-south. 11 states in quote. for intervention in the palm value chain. It was so because we were able to identify clearly that the palm value chain is one important value chain that we have neglected. Nigeria in 1965 controlled 45% of the whole global palm oil supply chain. Today, that market is $82 billion size. 85% controlled by Indonesia and Malaysia. Nigeria that used to control 45% of the global supply chain of the crude palm oil today does not even produce up to 3% of the global supply. Today, we consume about 2.4 million tons of palm oil. We only produce about 1,050,000 tons. We have domestic supplies deficit of almost over 50%. And to cover this deficit, we will require 500 to 700,000 new hectares of the super terroir palm plantation. It will require at least 90 to 120 million super terroir palm trees. It will require us setting up 1680 cottage factories across the whole world at the world level that will be able to process what is produced at the farm gate. And make it so clearly that these palm belts can actually go back into doing this. I remember then, I happened to chair the Southeast Farms and Agricultural Processing Company Limited. We took up radio jingles. We did proposals to the 5 state governors then on how we can use what we classify as the missions, community, diaspora, private-public partnership arrangement to access this 32 billion naira window to develop the palm value chain, working with the communities, the missions, and the town union. It was a very simple dynamics. Get each of the town unions within each electoral ward to earmark 200 hectares of their land. It belongs to them. Government is not taking their land. All that government need to do is working with local government area, provide them with security, help them to clear the land. Then we will supply them with the super terroir palm plantations in every electoral ward, at least 100 to 200 hectares. The community will own it. We will only provide them with agronomists that can help to train them, that can show them how they can intercrop it, and they can also be collecting stipend. Those that in every community, at least we'll have at least 200 to 300 agripreneurs who are well paid and who can do these jobs. We ran the numbers and we showed the governors clearly how within the next 4 or 5 years, if they had listened to us and done what they are supposed to have done, just like what Michael Okpara did when he was setting up agro parks like the Irei, Olonna, and all the rest of them. We showed them clearly how within a space of 5 years, we can add 1.8 trillion naira to the Southeast GDP annually in terms of revenue, minimum. Over $1.3 billion added annually on the minimum. We also showed them clearly how we can actually raise close to about $20 to $100 billion annually from the agro value chain in the Southeast. We took up radio jingles, expense paid by us, hammering on the need for the governors to come in because we have a very small land mass, 2.8 million hectares, and lands are mostly communally owned in the Southeast. Therefore, you must involve the community, the town union, to be able to harness this. Governors never cared because anything that is transparently done under the private-public partnership arrangement that will not allow them to over-invoice contracts by 500% and loot it, they are not interested. KB assessed it. Every other state assessed. The Southeast did nothing. If these guys had listened to us and done what they're supposed to do, just like what Michael Okpara will have done, by now we will have had $5 billion agro revenue every year flowing into the Southeast. All they do is when they want to steal money, they will tell you, oh, we are dashing out 1 million palm trees to villagers. They will inflate it. Some of them was even said they're going to Malaysia to import palm trees that we can actually produce. We're actually producing here. That is how despicable most of these people are. We have a private-public partnership arrangement to provide mechanized agricultural clusters in every ward in the Southeast. In every we are importing for 40 million naira. Go and look at their books. Tractors we are importing for 40 million naira. In their own books, it is 100 million. Because they know if they do it under this private-public partnership arrangement that involves a transparent structure, it will not allow them to over-invoice and steal. They don't care. Michael Okpara alive, or this some of alive, will have carried us like gold. will have invited us, will have worked with us to create value. Because Michael was not empowered to steal and to loot. Empowered to steal and to loot. But most of the people that we have today, most of the people we empower today, unfortunately, see political office as an avenue to steal, to loot, and to kill. And of course, they have a motley crowd of ignorant watchers cheering them up and hailing them. It's not yet too late, though. It's not yet too late. The only way the Southeast will have a breather is when all of us, there's no victim. Whatever evil and the wrath we are experiencing, we are all involved. Because the truth is, election will come. Those that will conduct election at the polling booth are Ndibo. At the war centers are Ndibo. At local government centers are Ndibo. At the state government are Ndibo. If not for Dr. Professor Nenoti, who refused to be compromised, Abia State today will have still been in bondage. If all the electoral officers from the polling booth to ward collection center, to local government collection center, to state collection center, in Ali will decide to behave like Nenoti, the best of us will step out to serve and help rescue Ali. But as long as we are still in this culture of greed, this culture of perversion, this culture of you are only respected when you're a thief, you're a criminal, you know how to, the word that they will tell you, you collect money to rig people into power. You collect money to vote. At the end of the day, you will lie the street complaining. Shame on all of us. If Michael Okpara today is alive, I'm betting you he may not even win an election in his polling booth. Because most of us today, unlike our forefathers, our forebearers, who have integrity, most of us have no integrity. The only integrity we have is integrity of the greed and stomach infrastructure that we always desire. That is why today in Alibo we have about 419ers, criminals, roles, minus few who have demonstrated excellent leadership, like Dr. Alex Ochi, who has shown example that there is need for us to look at men who have worked in social environment, excellent men who have shown track record of performances in their private sector life to put them in place of power and authority. Look at Abia State. Abia today is enjoying for two things. Abia people muster the courage to elect a professional, a top-notch banker as their governor. And then Noti stood her ground and refused to compromise her integrity. Two things are working today. Look at where Abia State is. Look at other states. May God have mercy on us.